Bum bum, bum bum, bum bum. No, that is not the theme to Jaws, but that is the sound of my heart rate slowing down. As my field of vision narrows, the noise from 10,000 cheering fans fades into the background. And then, bing bong, my 30-second countdown clock begins to tick-tock into the still night air. This is what I experienced standing on the start line before my fourth and final Olympic run in Vancouver and Whistler in 2010. In that moment, the previous 8 years of my competitive career in skeleton racing were about to be compressed into the next 52 seconds of competition. With everything that was literally and figuratively riding on that final descent, it's almost unimaginable to think right now that nothing was going through my mind on that start line. I was present, and more importantly, I was confident. Folks always say the same thing. You need to be confident if you want to be successful. So go be confident and you should win. What? Go be what? How the hello do I just be something? I am supposed to practice this, correct? Right? Anyone? My name's Jon Montgomery, and 20 years ago, I was grappling with these very questions. And I was beginning to ask them of myself because I wanted to achieve what I considered to be a lofty goal. I wanted to earn the opportunity to represent our country, my country, in the greatest multi-sport athletic competition in the entire world, the Olympic Games. I wanted a piece of that Olympic dream. Believing that something like that is even possible, it comes from somewhere. It has to be rooted in something, anchored someplace. Sometimes it's a ridiculous amount of ego and or natural born giftedness. This was not the case with yours truly. No, I'm afraid for myself, like most people in life who believe that they can almost become anything, with a few exceptions, is rooted in the healthy notion that if somebody else can do it, why not me? The day that you start asking yourself, why not me? Not out of a sense of entitlement, like somebody owes you something, but rather the realization that if somebody else can do it, why not me also? The powers of observation are wildly compelling. For an example, a couple of years ago, when I was reading my then 2-year-old son a story, I was in his crib, and it wasn't a place that I often found myself, inside his sleeping cage, inside his crib. But on this particular occasion, that's where I was. And when I finished the story and jumped over the railing, I knew that I had committed a grave, grave error before my feet even hit the floor. Because when I did touch down and turned around, I saw his little face with these wide eyes and a knowing look of recognition that he had just witnessed something that he too could accomplish. I couldn't get him to unsee what he had just witnessed with his own eyeballs. I'd seen the why not me on his face. Of course, our worst fears were realized at 2 a.m. that very morning with an audible flump, followed closely by the pitter-patter of small feet echoing down the hallway, signaling that our toddler was now fully mobile. No, a dreaded day in parenting. But if you're wanting to scale cribs or learning to walk or wanting to make the team or get the grade or earn the job, watching other people do what you want to do is a surefire way to build the resolve that if somebody else can do it, why not me? I would use these powers of observation to feed my sense of self-efficacy. Now, what self-efficacy is as a definition, simply put, it is the unwavering belief that I will accomplish that which I seek. Wow. An unwavering belief that I will accomplish that which I seek. Yes, please. I'll take a little bit of self-efficacy in my Wheaties, thank you very much. That sounded exactly like the type of confidence that I wanted to possess. Unwavering. And it is confidence that allows us access to other people's successes. It's what allows us to put ourselves in their shoes. It's what paves the way for a person to say something like, "Why not me?" And while I didn't know it at the time, I was beginning to beta test with the powers of observation at a really formative age, growing up in my hometown of Russell, Manitoba. In the spring of 1989, a big thing happened in our community. A hometown boy from our rural community, tight-knit town of 1,632 folks, won the Stanley Cup with the Calgary Flames that year. And not only was this rookie a part of this Stanley Cup winning team, but at 5'6" tall, the smallest player ever to play in hockey's highest league, Theoren Fleury was an integral part of that Stanley Cup team. It was beyond inspiring to watch this pint-sized dynamo play against veritable giants on my television screen. As the smallest kid in my class and always the smallest athlete on the field of play, I identified with Theo in ways that maybe my other hometown kids couldn't. There was a fundamental disconnect between this mythical almost creature that I had built up in my mind's eye and who he was in reality. Until he came home. Until he came to Russell, Manitoba. My dad, who was a teacher at the school and also principal at the time, as well as guidance counselor and the janitor. Further evidence of how small Russell, Manitoba actually is when you wear that many hats in town. But when my dad introduced Theoren, this newly minted champion, to the student body at the gym that day, I got to meet him after school in the parking lot. And I'll remember that day for the rest of my life. But not for what it was. More for what it wasn't. When I shook his hand, nothing happened. There was no parting of the clouds. There was nothing ethereal about it. There was no angels going, "Ah," in that glorious moment. There was nothing. Shaking another man's hand, standing shoulder to shoulder with my 5'6" father, all of a sudden made him a real person, made of flesh and blood and bone, just like any other man or woman from this small town that I called home. Just like my pop. Just like me. After humanizing a hero that day, I distinctly remember thinking to myself that big things can happen to anybody from anywhere, and there was far fewer limitations that I placed on myself after that experience. When you begin to view the world through this lens, a world of opportunity opens up right before you. My greatest opportunity in this life has been, and always will be, to call Canada home. And wanting more than anything to show my pride in this country, this home of mine. I wanted to be able to represent it, to wear the maple leaf on my chest while competing in sport, representing my country. I could think of nothing better to do. So when I got to move to a city that has an Olympic legacy, like Calgary, Alberta, I got to try all these sports that are on the fringe, perhaps, that might not have as many competitors in them, that might be a vehicle for a guy like me to represent his country. I needed to get creative. I needed to live life outside my comfort zone if I was going to be able to find these opportunities. Opportunities that might make other people wet their pants was where I was going to, for sure, find my niche. And so when my parents visited me for the very first time in this city that I was now calling home, I got to do things that a typical 21-year-old does with his parents, and I had planned nothing. Absolutely zip for their arrival. I was winging it like I normally did, and I was going to the places that I could see out my living room window. Canada Olympic Park was that place. So I took my parents on a self-guided tour of this place that housed the ski jump and the bobsled track. And I think it's fair to say that there was something compelling about that first exposure to the sport of skeleton racing that caused me to say, yes, please. Watching a human torpedo in a Speedo fly past me at 125 kilometers per hour was enough impetus for me to go, I have to try that. 1 week later, I would find myself in a Discover Skeleton class for the very first time. One run. One run is all it would take for me to discover that, yes, I had found something that I could sink my teeth into, something that I could call my own. I didn't know where it was going to lead, but it didn't matter. I had found something that I could be passionate about. When, a short time later, they announced that Vancouver and Whistler had been awarded the 2010 Olympics, it cemented it for me. My long-term goals, my BHAG, my big, hairy, audacious goal had been defined for me. I was going to be, over the next 7 years, pursuing the opportunity to represent Canada at those home games. Now, to put that kind of time in perspective, people will become doctors in 7 years and save human lives. We will replace every cell in our body in 7 years' time. So needless to say, I was all in on this tobogganing thing. And before I knew it, I was in Torino, Italy at the 2006 Winter Games. I was over there competing, so I got to drive down and watch my teammates, my friends compete in those games. And for the very first time in my life, I was going to be witnessing friends participate in the Olympics with an opportunity to earn medals. Whew. Not only did my teammates have success, but they claimed a medal of every single color, a gold, a silver, and a bronze at those games. And it was a watershed moment for me personally. Just by living vicariously through their success, I was able to ask myself questions like, who's going to win in 4 years' time? Somebody has got to win those same medals in 4 years. Somebody is going to win gold in 2010. Why not me? Why not me? I was beginning to think differently. And lucky for me, because whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're 100% right every time. It wasn't very long after that, 4 short years, it goes by in the blink of an eye, that I found myself standing at the top of the Whistler Sliding Center right here in Whistler, BC, before my 4th and final Olympic run of those 2010 games. I was currently in 2nd place before that 4th run. All possible outcomes existed before me. Everything from a gold medal to dead last in the competition. And I was never more confident. I wasn't confident that I would win. I couldn't control that part. It was up to the other athletes in the race. I was confident that I could execute my game plan flawlessly. That I could be the best version of myself on the day that mattered most. And I couldn't ask for anything more than that. My composure, my confidence, was rooted in the fact that I'd already witnessed others do that which I was striving for in real life. I'd seen it happen. I'd seen it happen thousands of more times in my own mind's eye doing visualizations. Why not me? When I stood there on that start line before my 4th and final run of those games, the previous 8 years of my life were about to be compressed into the next 52 seconds of competition. Sliding 1.5 kilometers face first down a frozen toilet chute on a cafeteria tray with rails in speeds over 146 kilometers per hour. And a smile on my face. Confident. Standing there, an undetermined fate stretching before me. A frozen labyrinth. A puzzle waiting to be solved. Bum, 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 bum. The next time you find yourself admiring somebody do something that you wish for yourself, simply ask, why not me? Thank you very much.